I see of history as kind of a continuum. If you understand history, you can find your role or your place in that flow as if it were a river. And within that flow, you understand that you are not alone, that you're part of an evolving, growing community. You're part of the strengths of your parents and grandparents and ancestors from the past, or the strength of others that have gone before you. I started law school in 1968, and virtually from the first day I walked on campus, I was greeted with demonstrations. And so there were riots, tear gas, pickets. So a lot of times we spent just participating in these causes for social justice.
Dale was very Berkeley, tie-dye, long hair, bell-bottom trousers.
My dad was dismayed because he thought I would be going up to where all the hippies and radicals and free lovers were, and I thought, it's perfect. It was a really new world to be in, coming from this little town of Gardena in Southern California where nothing much happened other than people playing sports and trying to get A's in school. The whole vision of what the law was changing. The laws that seemingly neutral arbiter of facts and issues was really not that, but a instrument of people who had money, people who had power, people who were not the same color as we were. The law was not something that necessarily protected you. We certainly know it didn't protect my parents or my one-year-old brother at the time when they were taken to the camps in 1942.
Of course, on December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Americans of Japanese ancestry were ordered to pack up everything they could carry in 2 suitcases and to report to neighborhood centers where they would be under armed guard, put into buses.
They were sent to Santa Anita Racetrack. They slept on hay with blankets. It was terrible odors, unsanitary. They were transported to Arkansas, and that's where they lived for about 2 years. If you come up the block a little bit, you'll see in this building, or this office here, was the Asian Law Caucus. The one with the glass bricks here. Looks like a dental office. The caucus was a vehicle for not just doing legal cases. I think we really wanted to empower the community by encouraging them to assert their legal rights and political rights. So I would go around to the various community groups from here to San Jose and tell them what we were doing, what we were trying to accomplish, who we were. Half of them thought we were nuts. We knew we were nuts.
And Dale was one of the first leaders to give Asian Americans a voice. And so when he decided not to go the conventional route and sort of take the road less traveled, what followed were a bunch of firsts. The first employment discrimination class action suit on behalf of Asian Americans. One of the original Asian American profiling cases, that was Chan versus Scott.
And in 1975, there were no Asian American judges in Alameda County. So we went on a mission to try to get one appointed, and we were lucky to get Ken Kawaiichi.
In 1983, you know, the case of a lifetime literally fell into our laps.
I got a phone call from a professor, Peter Irons. He had discovered evidence of serious misconduct in the wartime cases involving Japanese Americans.
Fred Korematsu was one of very few who defied Executive Order 9066, the internment order. And that act of defiance put him in jail. And the ACLU of Northern California brought that case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we were unsuccessful at that time.
The court reasoned that, based upon the Army's claims, Japanese Americans were committing acts of espionage and sabotage, and that secondly, they were prone to disloyalty.
The evidence was remarkable. It was a proverbial smoking gun, things that lawyers dream about having, and where the government is saying, we are engaging in deliberate misconduct here. We're telling deliberate lies, and it would be highly unfair to this minority group if those lies go uncorrected. As lead counsel, I was to give that final argument. So I framed my argument to address some of the interests of the Japanese American people,
of Fred Korematsu, who waited 40 years to be vindicated, of the American public, who never knew the truth and were essentially duped.
I remember Dale's very clear voice, and the entire courtroom was full, and there was no one who wasn't crying. It was just amazing. He gave hours and leadership to ensure that Fred's voice was heard and that the story of injustice continued to be told. Dale was appointed by President Clinton to head up what was the Civil Liberties Public Education Fund as part of the formal apology.
And in the end, the redress movement became a historic quest that tested the soul of this country.
Whether I did in litigation, whether I supported specific candidates for office, or whether I'd produce a movie to dispel stereotypes of Asian Pacific Americans, the core of what we tried to do was education. Justice is not self-executing. Equal protection is not guaranteed. You have to continue to fight for that on a day-to-day basis.
I think the core of Dale is social responsibility.
I think of history as kind of a legacy that is given us. And with that legacy comes a responsibility to do more. Because somewhere, sometime, someplace, someone has helped you. And I feel that you have a legacy then to pass that on and help others.